Hey, hey. How is everybody? We are live again. Give you guys a second to hop on here. Okay, what are we smelling today, people? It has been a morning of peace and calming and tranquil for me. And I have an ulcer on my lip. So I'm going to look and see if I have something to numb that real quick, and I will be right back. Usually, that'll work. Hey, hey. Jennifer, how are you? You're masked up, girly. Usually it would be Melrose that I put on a mouth sore. When it's not super tender, I would use Thieves. That's really hot. Today, I'm using frankincense. It's mild, but it's effective, and it numbs it. So I can actually talk to you guys. Jennifer, can you hear me okay? Thumbs up. Okay, she can hear me. Good deal. All right, I'm so glad you're joining me. We are going to have, I know we've got some regulars that are always on here, so they'll be coming on in just a second. Until about 12:05, take some time to grab an oil, smell it, get your mind in the right mindset. I would love to see your vision board or your goal sheet, if you have that handy, just to see, just to do a quick update and see where you guys are on this, how you're doing. So grab your vision board, grab an oil. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm going to go invite some people to join us too. Hey, Lori. Good to see you. Do you have your board handy? Or some goals handy? So what I want to remind you guys is that vision boards are not just craft projects. They can easily just be craft projects. But what they're supposed to be is a constant visual reminder of what you want life to look like, what your ideal life, with no regard for money or finances or anything like that, without boundaries, what your life would look like. Okay, so here's mine that we did the other day. I keep it hanging on the wall right behind me. I see Lori's. You did a little more work to it, didn't you? Looks good. Looks good. I keep it on the wall that's right behind me because my desk chair, my desk face it. So all day long, every day, I see this. Okay. So one of the things that I was really excited about putting on my vision board was just like walking on a beach right here by myself. And you guys, I just got back from a weekend trip all by myself where a beach was included. It wasn't a warm beach, it was a cold beach, but I want to remind you to keep this in front of you. And I want to ask you, what today are you going to do to get one step closer to something on your board? When you look down at your board or you look down at your goal sheet, you should have some goals written out somewhere. If you don't have a vision board, something written out, because if we don't have a vision and we don't have goals, we have nothing to shoot for. We're just going to wander aimlessly, 40 years in the desert, like the Israelites. So you've got to have something to keep you going forward. So when you look at your goals or you look at your vision board, what on this board today jumps out at you? What is it that jumps out at you? So I'm going to turn mine around and look at mine. Really what jumps out at me is the guitar at the bottom of it. And I think I've heard a ukulele is easier to learn to play than a guitar. So I may be ordering a ukulele today. Who knows? That gets me one step closer, right? I just want to know, what is one thing that you are going to be doing today to get you one step closer? Okay, so let's take a minute and you guys tell me. Oh, Sherry wanted to know if that relaxation caused you stress that caused the fever blister. No, the fever blister, I think I bit my lip. It's not a fever blister. It's inside my lip, and it's we call them mouth ulcers. I don't know. I used to get them all the time until I stopped using toothpaste with SLS in it, and I hardly ever get them now. But if I bite myself or any kind of like irritation to the gum, I might get one. Okay, yes, I am on Zoom and YouTube simultaneously. So if you guys want to hop on Zoom, you can do that. The passcode is posted in our group. Okay, so does anybody have anything they want to add to this conversation? Like what are you doing today? Can somebody tell me one thing? Maybe if you just came up with that one thing, you can type it in the comments on YouTube or you can type it in the comments on Zoom. It's totally up to you. Or you can unmute if you're on Zoom and tell me. There's no right or wrong answer. Maybe your one thing that you're going to do today is decide the one thing you're going to do today. Maybe you don't know, okay? So no right or wrong answer. Let me look and see. Lori is working on her website, and that's going to get you one step closer to what? Lori is a certified raindrop therapist now, and that might be what she's working toward. Okay, so we took a little longer on that than we wanted to. Today, guys, or that I had, not that we wanted to, it's great, than I had scheduled. Okay, so I want you today to have a little bit of an open mind because we're going to do things a little differently. We have a lot of similar tasks that we do every week because they do work. But I have reacquainted myself with Lindsay Marino, and she's a Royal Crown Diamond with Young Living, but she's also a genius businesswoman. She's had multiple businesses be successful. She's an author. She's got a massive podcast following. But she is just a no nonsense, tell it like it is leader. And I learned so much from her. She's really my style. So I learned so much from her every time I hear her. Today, we are going to work some out of her book called Getting Noticed. Getting Noticed. If you don't have it, Getting Noticed, a no nonsense guide to standing out and selling more for entrepreneurs who ain't got time for that. Told you she talks like me. I like it. So that's her book, Getting Noticed. So I'm going to take some things, we're going to use her playbook. So why would we reinvent the wheel when something great is already out there? So the first thing that we are going to do, we're going to take till 1225, which you may not get through all of these things right away, but you can always come back to the YouTube video and look at it again. I want you guys to take some time, and I'm going to do it myself, to answer these questions. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to narrow down our message so that we are not trying to be all things to all people. Okay. I get into a rut of trying to make sure that I'm pleasing everybody, that I am trying to find a solution for everybody's issues, and I'm trying to reach the masses, right? When in reality, if I focused on the people that I most could connect with, I will be much more effective. So I want you to answer the questions that she has here. Who your ideal target market is. There are no right or wrong answers, you guys. None. But you should be creating what we would call an avatar. This is your marketing avatar. You're creating this little image that you think of every time you start to post, every time you start to um, talk to somebody about it, every time you start to tell your story, share your experiences. It is targeted to this person. Okay. So I'm going to mute because I want to refresh myself on this too and do this with you guys. Okay, so we still have time to work on this, but I want to read to you guys what I wrote down, so it may help you prompt you to think of some things too. I've done this before, but I love this reminder, and so I'm going to take this and probably type it out and put it on a little sticky or something on my computer, maybe beside my computer, maybe a note section on my phone so that I can remember. Because what we want to do is every time we post, every time we are trying to share with about our life, about our business, about Young Living, anything, we need to be thinking about how it is going to impact our ideal person, our ideal customer, our ideal market. So for me, mine is it's women in their 40s to 50s. They live in the suburbs. They typically have 2 to 4 children. They're married. They have an annual income of $300,000 to $500,000. What do they do during the day? They usually have maybe some kind of home business or stay-at-home mom. They may be an entrepreneur working from home. Their interests are their kids, shopping, home decor, travel, tennis, meal prep, date night. Um, their lifestyle would be middle to upper class, somewhat luxurious by most of the world standards. The hobbies are some of the interests that kind of overlap. Some of these overlapped. But I would say some of their hobbies are women's groups, social events, reading novels. Um, yeah, getting their nails done. That's not me. Some of this isn't me, but it's the circle of my friends. Um, what is holding them back? So I would say, to some regard, what is holding my ideal market back, even though they make a lot of money, they spend a lot of money. So I would say money is holding them back. Lack of money for whatever reason, which is usually the way we have chosen to spend it. Your self image is holding them back. The thoughts of what others think about them is holding them back. Their pride, and actually the lack of true self-care is holding them back. They do things that they most people would consider self-care, like going to the spa, or going to the salon, or playing tennis, or hanging out with women. But is that true self-care? So political injustice would be something that's an injustice that affects them most. The mistreatment or perceived mistreatment of their kids would probably be a big one. So what that does is it helps me be reminded of not just who I want as a Young Living customer, but it reminds me of the people that I'm drawn to, people that I want to relate to because I have similar life experiences, and maybe I have stepped into a little more freedom in some of these things. So I am able to bring people along with me into the freedom of self-care, or into the freedom of understanding, you know, better meal prep, or whatever it is that's important to those people. Like some things that I do well, or I've learned through practice or trials or life, that these people can relate to. Does that make sense? So we all have that. We all have that in our life. But I think because we are posting so generally and so broadly about our topic, we are missing the people who can most relate to us. And as we say all the time, this is a relationship business. The world runs on relationships. So if we're not hitting that relationship mark with people and something they can relate to, we're never going to have them as a Young Living customer or member, because they're buying you, they're not buying what you're selling. So I would encourage you to consider sitting with this. Like what I just read to you guys is just what came to my mind in the few minutes that we did this. I'm going to go back to it and I'm going to sit with it, and I am going to really, pray over it. And just, Lord, are these my people? Like, is this who needs to hear from me? Is this who I can help the most? Is this who my message can make the most impact on? you basically have described ourselves in answering these questions. Yes, we have basically done that. So when we are not being true to our authentic self, that comes across. And that is when we all get that catch in the pit of our stomach that says, I'm just selling something. This feels salesy. This doesn't feel authentic to me. So just a good reminder for all of us. I mean, me especially, my goodness, I can sell ice to an Eskimo, but it may not have any relationship behind it. I've done that. I've done it that way for a long time. Okay. So now we are going to think about who that ideal person is. Okay. And now I want you to go to your phone or to your computer or whatever, and I want you to start gathering content for your ideal person. So the way you would do that, if your person is interested in gardening, then go to Pinterest and look at gardening. Look at gardening ideas. If your person is interested in, I don't know, what is your person interested in? Tell me. What did you write down? Look up quotes about what that person may be going through or may inspire them. Look up recipes. I didn't spell that right. If your person is into healthy eating or if they're into quick tips for meals. Now you're going to create a content ideas folder either on your phone in your notes section. I like to keep stuff there. Or you can do it on your computer. Wherever you sit down to make your post, that's probably where you need to have it handy. So if you want to save it on your computer, then that's probably where you're going to need to be making your post because it's going to be easier to transfer that way. If you do most of your posting on your phone, you're going to want to save it there. But this content idea folder needs to continue growing all the time. It needs to continue growing all the time. So let's do that. Let's start creating a content folder for the things that our ideal target is interested in. So just to give you an idea, like my very first thing that I Googled was self-care for busy moms. So it brought up graphics, it brought up articles. So then you just put a link to the article in a post and you say, this hit home with me so much. Can anyone relate to this? Does anyone need to know what true self-care looks like and what it is? So that's where you're going to be thinking. Okay, what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, I found a lot of things that, I mean, for me, the age group that I picked was just like women over 50.
Mm-hmm.
What one thing I've learned is that women at my age feel like it's too late. They can't do anything for themselves. And so I don't want to work with those people because I don't believe that's right. So, it's easier for me to do the 50. So I just was looking at all the possibilities, all the quotes. That's as far as I got. but,
Which is
but
great. So what you probably need to do then is, if you've saved those quotes, like start thinking about what resonates the most with you and what you can write about, how you can turn it into a story, how you can turn it into engagement on your page. Because like what she says here, I'll have to find this. Do you guys have this book?
I do, and I can't find it.
It is worth the money to buy another one. I don't think they're very expensive. I mean, commonality creates trust and trust sells products, she says. I love that. So everything that she posts, she tries to tell in a story form. And if you guys go and find, I don't know if you follow our friends on Facebook with Sarah Lee, not the donut lady, but Sarah Lee. She is also, she's Crown Diamond with Young Living and a good friend of mine. She lives in San Antonio now. She used to live in the Northwest and in Washington. So we have a lot in common. But she's mastered that art. Like every time I see her post, I am drawn in. I am drawn because she's telling a story. It's not just, hey, we went to the farmer's market. It's like all the details of it. Like the day was gorgeous and we started out this morning grumpy and blah, 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 or whatever, like it's a story that got them to the farmer's market. And then there's always a question in there. Always like, do you go to farmers markets? Do you like to shop at farmers markets? Do you have any farmers markets near you? So instead of just doing what we normally do with an engagement post, like, hey, are there farmers markets near you? She really tells a story, and that is making people see us as humans, not just a post, right? They start to know us. They start to have a connection to us, an attraction to us. They look for what we're going to be posting because we're telling stories. So that's really like, and then I love that she, Lindsay says in her book to really, and this is going to be part of our next task, but to really think about like posting a series of posts on a similar topic. So what I was drawn to, since I just came off of my weekend of self-care, was self-care. Because so I did self-care for busy moms and I started looking that up, or busy working moms, and also just like using my experience to give women permission to do that for themselves. So in some way they're going to relate to me, either like, I can't do that, there's no way I could leave, but I want to take away those excuses, because that's part of me. I want to help every woman feel like they deserve that, even if it is a half day alone in the park, if you can't afford a vacation, whatever it is. So for the next few days, next week or so, I'm probably going to be incorporating these things in my post. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. I really like having kind of a refresher on this. Okay, so now just for the next few minutes, you won't be able to finish this in this time frame, but it gets you started. I want you to look at your calendar, because we're at the beginning of February. So pull out your calendar, if you have a paper calendar, if you have a phone, whatever. I want you to first write it down on paper. Don't go scheduling it on your phone yet, or in or however you do your calendar. I want you to write it down on paper so that you can see it and what it looks like on a piece of paper. And then you can schedule it in your calendar, and then you can go and like, If you have a group, you can pre-schedule your post in your group. But here's the thing, Lori and I were talking about this the other day too, and Sherry, it may be the case for you as well, and anybody else who's watching. So many times before our team really gets large enough to have a big audience, we have a fairly small audience on our group team pages. So just posting there is not going to probably do everything that you want it to do. It can start to really build a good community and relationship with the people that are already there, which is fantastic. It might open up some doors to better relationship and better community. But if you want to grow that community, then you need to not only just post there, but you need to post it on your main page where people are going to be seeing it that are not part of your community yet, not part of your Young Living community. So schedule out, you've got your ideas maybe of who your target audience is. Pick something off of that list of that creates that audience of what they, what's going to relate to them that you think would relate to them most. Then you get your ideas that we've Googled and looked up. Now we're going to schedule it. So you cannot leave this up to chance. It will not happen. And I am speaking to myself more than anyone who is watching this. If I leave my social media post up to chance, it's going to be 5 in one day and none for 4 days. So I have to have it planned out. Okay, so let's just start that process right now. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you plan to go on and put it on your calendar, your paper calendar, I highly suggest a pencil. Okay. So what I did, because I planned out the rest of this week because I had some things in my mind that I wanted to share. So I'll just share this week with you guys because it's kind of funny because so many people thought that Michael and I were having marriage troubles or we were going to get a divorce because I went away for the weekend by myself. Oh, so the opposite. So my post tomorrow, or actually today's Wednesday, I'm a day behind. So later today, my post will be, I'm not getting divorced. And I'm going to talk about that. Hang on, I got to numb my lip. And then, so on Thursday, I have Be Still, because I'm going to talk about something that happened to me this weekend with just being still and listening. And then on Friday, I'm going to talk about self-care and some tips for the weekend. Like what can you do on the weekend for yourself? And then on Saturday, it's, I have a graphic that I found that says you're more precious than jewels. So it's that scripture. So I will post that and talk about that. Now, with every post, you need to have a picture, right? Preferably a picture of yourself or you with your family because you're still creating that brand of you. If you don't, that's okay. But something because for algorithm's sake alone, you need the picture. But just for attention getting, you need the picture. So now for the rest of the month, this may change a little bit. That's why I used pencil. I just went down the Sundays of the month Sundays of the month so I could think about what that week would look like. So next week is focused around mom guilt. I've had some posts brewing for a while on that. It's personal experience. The week of the 14th, which would be Valentine's Day, it's romance, love, marriage. The week of the 21st is shopping. Not necessarily my thing, but I know it's my ideal market. So I'm going to talk about deals that maybe I found, local farmers markets, because hey, you know what? Local farmers markets is on my vision board. So if I have it as a post on Facebook scheduled, I'm going to make myself go to a farmer's market so that I can do something from that actual market. And then the last week of February, which is it's the first week of March, really, it's what others think of you or what others think of me, because that's one of the things that I put on my list of something that's holding my ideal target back. So I'm just excited. Like that feels good to me. I hope it feels good to you guys, like to have something kind of planned. It can change. Plans change. Plans are there just as a guide, just like a budget's there just for a guide. Sometimes you got to cushion it. Sometimes you got to move money from here to there. But that's just, that's why we have a plan. So we have some kind of idea of a vision going forward. Okay. So the last thing I want to leave you with a little bit of homework to create a story to your target market. So we are going to create a post. And listen, if you want some ideas and examples, go find Sarah's page and look and see how she words her stuff. Make it you. Don't write like her, write like you. But we want to do, Sarah, we want to do story format. So
I have a question because
sure.
I was trying to search for Sarah on Facebook, and what is her Facebook name?
Sarahlee. Sarah Lee.
Well, there are several.
Look up my Facebook page and then go to my mutual friends.
Okay.
And you'll see her there. I think she's
okay.
the only Sarah Lee I have.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you can't find it, I can send you a picture of her profile. So in this story, just as a recap, this is from Getting Noticed, the book. Be who you are, write like you speak. Don't make it all proper. This is informal. This is social media. Inspire and entertain. Let people into your world. That means you have to be vulnerable. That means that you have to connect with people. That's what we do all the time on here. We connect with people. Let people see the good and the bad. social media only shows the good. We only want to show our best pictures. We only want to share our highlight moments. But we have to open that door, because when we open that door to be normal and vulnerable, then other people can too. And then we create a relationship that is authentic relationship. Show them you're a real person and let them cheer you on. Now, I'm going to just say and we're at the end of our time. For me personally, um, because I am such a strong woman and I am not everyone's cup of tea, because not everybody can deal with strong women. My friend and I were just talking about this earlier this morning, because I had a little bit of a bump in the road, and and I was saying, it just really frustrates me that when a man is successful, he is celebrated, but when a woman is successful, she is just the B word, or she is just a force to be reckoned with, or she is just, she's catty, she clawed her way, whatever. It's such a, I mean, it's just not fair, really. It's just not. But um, with that being said, I don't often like to share stuff on Facebook that sets me up to look like I am weak, or like somebody's going to have an answer for me. Like I don't like not having my own answers. I don't like the feeling that I have when I am vulnerable and then I get all this advice like, oh, you honey, you just got to do this, you just got to do, because that goes against everything in my nature. My nature says you can do this by yourself. Like you don't need to. So just being completely honest and vulnerable with you, that is a wall. That puts up a wall. When I can't let people know that, hey, I'm vulnerable just like you. I make mistakes just like you. I can't do this by myself. And let people do that, because that may be their way of connecting with you, is to be able to help you and share that, um, their advice or their experience with you. So we just got to be real. This was a very different power hour, but I hope that it gave you kind of a way to plan for your February. That's what I need. I need a plan. So you guys, it's been good. It always is. If you have any comments or questions,
I
um,
have a question, and it doesn't have anything to do with this basically, but I just saw Sarah Harnish advertising her new books. And I don't know if we've talked about that, but I know somebody in my circle has talked about the length of her books and stories and videos.